I'm done with Brett's incompetence, okay? Somehow, he managed to install an H-emitter node backwards. Everything's in reverse. I don't get paid to clean up Brett's messes. If you want it fixed, send him up to storage for a new emitter, not me. Parker out.
Wow.
Hooray. So you have to solve it backwards, but I assume you already did. Did you?
No, not that one. I need to find a power cell. So.
Oh, I see.
S.
I do get a little sick of this environment.
Found one.
It's really weird how there's no way that they could have spaced out this massive amount of exposition, you know? It's all got to be in this one spot.
Yep.
That should do the trick. Now let's get that door open.
So backward, okay. So down, left, up, right, down. Right?
Yep. That's good.
That did it. Door should have power.
Now to see what lies beyond it.
Rolled. Good luck, fatty.
Okay.
Eclipse. They're here.
Of course they're here.
Avoid contact.
Lines look good.
Gaia. It's up there. Second floor.
Can you reach it?
So much for avoiding contact.
Yeah, just let me slaughter these dudes real quick.
Wow.
You know how they...
Dramatic music. Holy moly.
Okay, so this game has a really interesting structure, and
Yeah.
it's a really successful structure, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
So, a lot of stuff will have 3 acts, and that's like classic Greek tragedy and things like that,
Yeah.
where the first act is all about setting up your characters and developing your characters so that you have an audience get invested in them, right?
Yeah.
Act 2 is regarded as, you know, the bulk of the action. And Act 3 is just like follow-up and resolution. But you'll typically see a major peak in Act 2 because it's just, you know, you're in the middle of the action immediately. Now, this game has a similar structure, but I'm gonna wait until you kill this dude real quick. Well, maybe not. This has a similar structure, except you start in Act 2. In Act 1, you learn about Act 1 through little dialogue bits. You know, these little journals.
Yeah.
And as far as a video game storytelling
Fuck you
technique,
guys. Dude,
as far as a video game,
did you see those guys?
yeah,
first
he's
time around?
just doing a moonwalk.
No.
No, they
What
just
I-
appeared.
what I mean is, I didn't see those guys the first time I scanned.
Yeah, because they just appeared. They just spawned in.
That's why I say fuck you guys.
Well,
Hey then.
it's.
Alrighty. Oh, God. Hey.
I'm just gonna let you finish.
Say you say. It's fine.
You start off in Act 2.
Yeah.
Which means your story's pace is going to be inherently faster.
Okay.
When you get caught up on Act 1 through a series of journals, right? Which
Yeah.
are exclusively exposition. That's all they are. You get the same in this game, but I remember... I don't want to say this is the first one, but the first one in my memory that did this, the first game that did this, was System Shock. System Shock would just fill you in on all the shit that went wrong. by giving you that. Maybe not that, but BioShock definitely did. And that's really good for the pace of the game. And I think, as far as modern game design goes, that influence has spread far and wide. And I'm glad it has, because it's just for a lot of different game experiences, it's a superior storytelling technique. I love that, but pacing is very important. You have to space it out over the course of the game, where you get filled little tidbits of what happened in the past. Welcome to Bullshitville, Population 4.
I didn't shot it. How classic.
Wow, that didn't even damage him. And that, as far as I could tell, was a direct hit. What nonsense.
Room's clear. For a moment, anyway.
Then get moving. You have to find Gaia.
Fuck you guys. Fuck you too.
Well, that is an observation about this game, is all your exposition is kind of limited to these areas.
Yes.
Which means you don't get constantly drip fed Act
Oh.
1 exposition.
I see
I'd have to ditch
someone
something.
getting really mad about the exhibition. Is that okay? It's just really different. Like it can't. What he said is.
Hello, I'm Margot Shen, and this is Hephaestus. As the name might tip you off, this is going to be the subordinate function that Gaia will use to make lots and lots of robots. Her personal forge. Except, it's not that simple. So you probably noticed that only about a third of you are robotics engineers. The rest, experts in machine cognition, virtual heuristics, that stuff. Well, that's because we aren't going to be the ones designing and building robots. The last thing we want is to burden Gaia with a bunch of outmoded 21st century designs. Waste of time. Our purpose is to empower Gaia to build the robots, and not just build, imagine, from scratch. Any robot she needs for any conceivable purpose, designed and fabricated at a snap of a finger. Hers. Her finger. So, Hephaestus isn't really the forge. It's more like the knowledge of craft and ingenuity of a mastersmith to wield the hammer. Encoded as software. Virtual creativity made real. Gaia's already learning. In simulation, she's doing some very creative things with fractal assembly and animal morphologies. Her designs aren't about to win the Liam Prize anytime soon, but hey, everyone has to start somewhere. So, yes, time to get started. Let's do this.
So
Get it.
Which part? It's a little technical at places.
If Gaia was designed to save life, why would the robots it makes attack people?
Perhaps it loves some forms of life more than others.
A derangement. The machines weren't always so angry.
True. Mostly they were docile until 10, 15 years ago.
For years, Hephaestus has
When
been
she's
forcing
born.
cauldrons to make aggressive machines. I've seen it myself, in the cauldrons. Stalkers, Ravagers, the Thunderjaw. How could it do that? And why?
Why indeed?
well, so the cauldrons are Hephaestus.
So that's part of the Hephaestus subordinate program.
Yeah.
Got too much already.
Neat.
It's a cool concept, breaking everything up into smaller bits like that, but that is that concept. Programmers are no stranger to that concept, breaking up something into a bunch of tinier functions.
Yep.
If you have one giant program that does everything, that's referred to as like monolithic code, and that's bad. But to see that concept implemented as well, what am I trying to say? As part of narrative of video game, pretty neat.
I think this is it. Elizabeth Sobek's office. But it's sealed off. There's got to be a way inside.
Keep looking.
More clips.
Careful now.
Careful now. You might trip and fall over your giant gun.
You know, there's a perk in this game that you can move faster while you're holding a gun. That is a perk you need to purchase, or you move extremely slow when you're holding this shit.
So you currently have that perk.
Yeah, I currently
But you have
every
every perk, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that as being useful.
Well,
Although,
it depends on which part.
Welcome to Apollo, the collective memory of the human species
Hello.
and the wellspring of knowledge for future generations.
The
I
m-
am Samina Ebaji. Until recently, I was director of the International Collective Memory Institute in New Tehran. As a heritage professional, I devoted my
heritage
career to the
professional.
preservation of human knowledge, creative endeavor, and cultural achievement. Apollo is, therefore, the ultimate embodiment of a lifelong passion, albeit under the very worst circumstances imaginable. The challenges before us are immense. Specifically, we will have to design and implement 4 major initiatives simultaneously. First, the construction of data repositories in cradle facilities around the world, ensuring redundancy. Second, the collection and processing of a projected 180 million discrete data entries. 42 zettabytes of data in Mandarin,
Data bad.
English, Spanish, and Arabic. Third, the transferal and encoding of all that data onto DNA encapsulated in synthetic fossils. The only medium capacious and durable enough to safeguard it without degradation for the centuries to come. And last, but not least, the development of the holographic interface and gamified curricula, by which future humans will commune with Apollo, progressively unlocking heuristic learning modules, leveling up their knowledge and skills they will need to take control of the terraforming system. That is the future towards which all of our efforts will be directed. Not just the preservation of the past, but the seed for the flourishing of a new tree of knowledge. Welcome, and let us begin.
Oh, passionate. Holy shit.
you had kind of a strange reaction to her referring to people leveling up their education.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that concept is actually very important when it comes to education. I know Extra Credits did a bit on this, but it's the gamification of learning. And that is to say, if you make learning something into a game, then people feel like it's less of a slog and they enjoy it more and they actually develop their skills and knowledge so much faster. So they're saying that they have to take this concept, they have to take all of this stuff that they want to teach future generations via simulations or whatever, and they want to not only kind of force it on them, but they also want to do it in such a way that it engages them and makes them have fun while they're doing it. So that's the whole leveling up your knowledge thing. It's a fun idea.
It is.
I remember back when I was a kid, we had Freddy Fish and Math Blaster and Spy Fox, I think, and something else. There were so many. There were so many just learning or educational games. Now, those ones were a little ham-handed, a bit obtuse, and they didn't come off quite as games. They just came off as mathematics drills and things like that. But there are definitely some games that will will teach you a lot about history. There's some games that will teach you some pretty hardcore math. And if you don't believe me, then, well, look at all the people who min-max on MMOs.
Nah.
They get deep into spreadsheets and mathematics and determining
shit.
formulas for calculating things like damage modifiers, defense boosts, so on and so forth. There's a lot of effort that goes into that. So, don't let anybody tell you that video games are a waste of time.
Oh, I never think about it that way.
Yeah, they also develop cognitive skills, and hopefully we'll never get dementia because we play video games so much.
The ancients' greatest gift to us.
Greatest? How about the fact we exist at all?
To abide in ignorance is a curse, Aloy.
Really?
You of all people should know that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you missed that shot. It looked like a pretty clean shot, and it went through his face.
That one is clean. Right?
Yeah. Oh man, I was just reminded. When I was a teenager, I used to play a lot of Halo with my buddies.
Yeah. Imaginable.
And the games got pretty intense, and it was pretty fast-paced. And when you play games like that, especially when you're a kid, it's kind of hard to...
Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know if that's going to turn
That
out
guy
very
to
well.
the journey, though.
I don't know if that's going to turn out very well with YouTube compression, because those blacks are pretty dark. And then the black level on that screen when it goes over to YouTube is just going to be all screwy.
Well, I didn't find the Hades. There's a room talk about Hades, but...
Yeah,
wow.
we don't need to worry about that.
Really? Come on.
Alone once more.
What should have been a cave of wonders.
Got on the face. Lol.
Well, when we got in those games as kids, things got heated, fast-paced, and confusing.
Please archive this testimonial in Apollo. Cross-reference to all mentions of my name and
Well, when you were just kind of putting together whatever words were gonna come out of your mouth, sometimes shit got mixed together weird. And my favorite one was when somebody died. And they got shot from behind with a headshot. They would refer to it mistakenly and on multiple occasions as being shot in the back of the face. And that phrase tickles me. I recently heard that watching somebody else's video that they got punched in the back of the face. And just as you land a headshot from behind, I'm like, you just shot him in the back of the face.
Okay, so
That's
this
definitely
is the
Hades.
Hades. So
Welcome to Hades, Zero Dawn's extinction failsafe protocol, the ultimate killer app. Now, I know what you're thinking. The purpose of Gaia is to resurrect life. So why give her a subordinate function, only purpose of which is to wipe out life all over again? I mean, what?
These guys
Just
are
crazy,
such
ain't it?
millennials,
Well,
aren't they?
No, it isn't.
They're so
Just
young and
embrace your-
hip.
Instituting a
just
biosphere?
raise your face.
That's a tall order. Tech smart as Gaia may be, odds are she won't get it right the first time. I mean, imagine your Gaia 200 years from now and this new biosphere growing, it's all gone wrong. Alkalines are skyrocketing, coniferous forests eroding under the lash of superstorms that would have drowned Noah. It's chaos. A spinning top that won't stop wobbling. Now what are you gonna do? Release phase 1 organisms into that hot mess? Hope their CO2 and methane can balance out what you got started? Hell no. What you're gonna do, Gaia, is step aside while Hades takes over and does what you're just too darn nurturing and life-loving to do. Which is burn that misbegotten mess of a biosphere to the ground so Gaia
Burn to the ground?
can start over. Okay,
You punk.
not burn, more like reverse terraforming operations and suffocating. But you get the idea. Hades takes the biosphere back to zero. Square one, blank slate. And then, only then, does it hand the steering wheel back to Gaia and say, try again, old girl. And better this time, or we'll have to do this again. That's Hades. It's pretty badass when you think about it. Extinction on demand. Death on speed dial. All for the greater good, of course, but still, kind of metal.
Extinction on
Welcome to
demand.
Hades. Welcome to the void.
Okay, so if that's the original purpose of Hades, why does it want me extinct?
We need more data.
And how does it end up in the wreckage of a Pharaoh Titan, getting worshipped by the Eclipse like some kind of god?
I'm learning as you are, Aloy. Keep searching.
They're weirdly, you know, intelligent according to their, you know, people.
Looks like the only way onwards.
Well, that's mostly Apollo.
Apollo?
How intelligent they are.
No, I mean how intelligent Silence and Aloy the most. The rest of them are just savages and whatnot.
But yeah, like they even know what the term data means.
Yeah.
Well, they're the only ones who are exposed to this old tech.
Welcome to Eleuthia, the crown and king of Gaia's subordinate functions.
Did I just
For
interrupt
it
you?
is by Eleuthia that the human race will continue to exist. I am Patrick Brochard-Klein, the Alpha in charge of this program. Now let one thing be perfectly clear from the outset. Eleuthia is not a genetic engineering project. Our goal is to preserve the human genome, not alter it.
To spawn
A
a new
snapshot of
generation
human
of human
genetic
beings.
diversity, literally frozen in time. The genetic quintessence of our species, unmodified. Under my watch, our activities and initiatives will comply with the 2034 clone provisions and the 2048 Rally Accords. Now that may seem a quaint, even trivial concern to you in light of present circumstances, but as one of the authors of the Accords, it is far from trivial to me. The practical challenges before us are staggering in scope and complexity, but not insurmountable. No. Global collation and provisional storage of zygotes, perfection of exogenic technologies, design and perfection of servitors.
Cradle facilities. Elizabeth said a new generation of humans would be spawned inside such vessels.
She did.
Oh, Mother Mountain. It was one of them?
There's only one way to be sure.
The hatch wouldn't open. Something about a corrupted Alpha registry. I need to search Elizabeth's office.